Hordes of panicky people seem to be evacuating the town for some unknown reason. Professor, without knowing precisely what the danger is, would you say it's time for our viewers to crack each other's heads open and feast on the goo inside? Yes, I would, Ken.
This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth, and as you can tell by the title of this video, there's a new fear campaign that is being ramped up into overdrive right now by the powers that ought not be, as I like to call them, as they now want everyone to know about these mosquito-borne viruses that are circulating in the Northeast. Particularly, they're talking about this one, or EEE, which is rare but serious disease that can cause brain inflammation. There is, so far, no vaccine against it for humans, but I mean, how much do you want to bet there is likely going to be one soon enough for this? I mean, Massachusetts has already responded to this EEE, a single case, with stringent protocols. This has prompted neighborhood spraying and the closure of public parks in affected areas. There's already videos now of entire communities being sprayed with God knows what to deal with this so-called concern over mosquito-borne viruses. So there seems to be a little bit of a shift happening right now in the focus from the era of COVID 1984 into the era of like Zika and malaria and even West Nile. I don't know if you guys have heard, but Dr. Anthony Fauci has recently just been hospitalized with West Nile virus, and he's now recovering at home. Yeah, Mr. COVID himself, the man who has been infected with COVID like, I don't know, a dozen times, and has been vaccinated and boosted just as many times as he's gotten sick and then recovered from this thing, is now suffering from West Nile virus and is recovering at home. Folks, I will remind you that men like Anthony Fauci are often used in this psyop because the powers that ought not be, as I like to call them, understand group psychology and the psychological relationship that society has with their doctors and how they're pretty much willing to listen to them and do whatever these guys tell them to do. And that's why guys like Fauci play into the real agenda, a global inoculation program. That's what's truly going on here, folks. I mean, why do you think Israel has just agreed to a humanitarian pause in Gaza for 640,000 children to be vaccinated against polio as fighting rages in the West Bank? Israel has halted some of its military operations in Gaza to allow health workers to launch a polio vaccine drive for some 640,000 Palestinian children. Guys, do you think that the Israelis are interested in helping Palestinian children with polio here? Or is there something else at play? Again, as the narrative is completely shifting from COVID to these new mosquito-borne viruses. And may I remind you just how bad the fear campaign and the psychological operation was with COVID 1984 and how bad that affected people psychologically. I mean, I just tweeted this one this morning. Holy hell, these people need to turn the TV off. Meet the Americans who are still isolating 4 years into the COVID pandemic, including this New Jersey woman who's been in lockdown for 620 days. It's absolutely insane, guys. They want everybody to be just as fearful as these people are, and they're now using mosquito-borne viruses to ramp up that fear state into whole new levels. So we're going to talk about all of that, guys, and much more in this video. But really quickly, just before we do, I'd ask that you check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you guys this information. I hear you can do a one-time donation with PayPal. You can do Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies by clicking there. You can sign up here or here for a monthly reoccurring contribution. You can send an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca, or if you like to keep things old school, guys, you can send stuff to my P.O. box. Links for all of this are located in the description below. Once again, thank you so much to anybody who takes 1 minute today to support my efforts here at Press for Truth. All right, guys, let's check out this video, which is really contributing today to this massive fear campaign that is shifting the focus from COVID to things like malaria and Zika and West Nile and EEE. Check this out.
As teams in New York City and along the Northeast unleash an attack on mosquitoes from the air and streets, health officials in Wisconsin confirming 2 people have now died in that state from West Nile virus. What
the heck were they spraying there so quickly for this? And do you remember when the health officials were telling society that, like, DDT, for example, was safe and effective, and they were spraying it all over, like, young school children, and then, you know, it all came out many years later that this was detrimental to their health? I mean, when are we going to learn that we cannot simply just blindly trust these health officials? Let's continue.
This morning, nearly 290 cases reported across more than 30 states. The mosquito-transmitted illness accounting for 100 to 200 deaths each year.
All of this sounds so familiar. I'll remind you guys that cases generally mean nothing when it comes to this stuff because there are so many false positives, and it's through the inflation of cases numbers that they're able to continue to keep the fear state going. So, you know, never mind the numbers when you see the word cases. It literally means nothing.
In Missouri, 18-year-old John Proctor VI, now on a ventilator, contracting
the
disease.
Get him off the ventilator. That's what's, like,
His parents
killing
say symptoms
people,
started
you know,
with
during
headaches and
COVID.
dizziness, then spiraled into vomiting, disorientation, and a dangerous fever.
And to see him lethargic and struggle to do simple basic functions, it's hard. The doctors describe this as a marathon to beat this virus since there's no actual cure for it.
Many who get West Nile may not ever feel sick, but
many who get it may not ever feel sick. Again, very similar, eerily similar, and quite revealing into how this may go in the very near future with asymptomatic carriers. You know what I mean? That they've already kind of laid that out here for that to go into the consciousness of the masses.
1 out of every 150 people infected may develop serious, even fatal illness. And this morning, concern about another rare but potentially lethal mosquito-borne virus, EEE, with 6 people sickened in at least 5 states.
So again, as we can see, the fear state around West Nile and EEE is being ramped up right now, and you've literally got places like Massachusetts spraying neighborhoods and shutting down public parks, and as it says here, even encouraging people to stay home after 6 p.m. All of this sounds eerily familiar to, you know, what happened in the COVID 1984 response, the global response to that. And it seems like people were so unbelievably brainwashed throughout that time that they need to keep that going, and they need to shift the focus into these new things. But again, I want to show you this article in particular that will show you just how bad things can get when they pump out these fear campaigns to people who just eat it up lock, stock, and barrel. These are the Americans who are still isolating 4 years into to COVID. It's absolutely insane. For many Americans, the COVID pandemic and draconian lockdowns it ushered in feel like a thing of the past. Biden declared the pandemic over last May, and it's not being viewed as a major voter issue since. But for some Americans, the masking and social distancing never ended. You've got Sarah Ann Willett from New Jersey, who has spent more than 1,600 days in isolation, rarely leaving home, and planning to further isolate into the countryside. There's another one they have here. Who is it? Cheris Hill, a California resident with high-level medical needs who only breaks their quarantine once a month to meet with a masked, socially distanced group of friends. And look at this. Hill, who uses they, them pronouns, believes that mask bans being proposed in the states make it unsafe for us to exist. Both patients' concerns come as COVID cases spike with back-to-school season, though deaths and hospitalizations remain at an all-time low. So much needs to be pointed out here and broken down. First of all, isn't it interesting how some of the most conditioned and brainwashed people are all using they, them pronouns? I mean, that should be an immediate red flag to show you that you're dealing with an unintelligent person who is really being intellectually dishonest, and they're, you know, more susceptible to believing the nonsense that is pushed from the government in the state, and this is why they're the type of people to fall for this stuff, using terms like make it unsafe for us to exist, like taking that directly from, you know, the LGBTQ plus community and applying it to, you know, this to healthcare. Both patients' concerns come as COVID cases spike. Once again, this is a nothing burger. Cases spiking means absolutely nothing. I'll remind you, back when they would find out that one person who was eating at a restaurant had tested positive for COVID, then everybody who was contact traced at that restaurant is now listed as a case. Again, this is how they continue to falsely inflate the numbers to keep the fear campaign going. But look at this. Their concerns are growing with back-to-school season, even though deaths and hospitalizations remain at an all-time low. So there's an incredible amount of cognitive dissonance happening here within the minds of these brainwashed people who see in real time that the numbers are down, hospitalizations are at an all-time low, yet because cases are spiking, they are still putting themselves in this perpetual state of being locked down. It's absolutely insane, guys. If you scroll down here, you see one of them saying, we need a new normal, and a new normal that is equitable for everyone, and that not only prioritizes high-risk people, that also reduces infection overall. Being this afraid is exactly how they want all of society, so that they can engage in the global inoculation program. That's what this thing is all about. That's what it's always been all about. That's why, as I said, the Israelis are, you know, not pausing pausing their attack for humanitarian reasons. They could care less about 640,000 Palestinian children. It all has to do with this global inoculation program. And that's why all this stuff right now is being absolutely crammed down our throats. Did you hear about this one? I don't even know how to pronounce it. Whatever this virus is, brand spanking new, that they're calling the sloth virus. Well, I think it's been around since the 50s. But anyways, it's newly coming into the consciousness of people in the US and Europe. That's because cases have been reported for the first time. You know, but what is it? As of August 16th, 2024, more than 20 cases of Oropouche virus disease, sometimes nicknamed as the sloth virus, has been confirmed in travelers returning from the U.S. To the U.S. from Cuba. So I really think we're going to see no shortages of these new diseases and new viruses springing up, you know, left, right, and center in the near future, as they continue to keep the fear campaign going, keeping people like this absolutely terrified, so that you'll rush out and engage in the, as I call it, the global inoculation program. That's really what this all boils down to. So if you're not falling for all this, you know, propaganda and all this blatant fear campaign, well, kudos to you. I'm, you know, if you found yourself on the right side of history, you did not take part in this global inoculation program, let me know in the comments section below, and go ahead and pat yourself on the back today for making the right decision, for seeing through all this nonsense and propaganda for what it truly is. And again, kudos to everybody here watching who has made the right decision moving forward, and hopefully you'll do the same as they continue with this fear campaign moving forward into 2025. So just wanted to bring all of this to your attention today, guys. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to do so, don't forget to check me out here, pressfortruth.ca/donate. Again, I cannot do this work without the support that comes directly from you, the viewers. So if this is the kind of information you appreciate getting from me here at Press for Truth, please click that top link in the description below of whatever video platform you happen to be watching this on today. And that's all for today, guys. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Please click the thumbs up button, share this video, and stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.